Cain feared that whoever finds me will kill me, when only a few people supposedly existed on earth, so who was he afraid of? Why did Cain have a wife in the land of Nod, and even build a city? This video takes you through the forgotten clues in Genesis, the flexible meanings of Adam, humankind, erets land, city, and the two major theories explaining the crowd in the margins of the Bible. This isn't about conspiracy theories, it's about how the text itself hints at a larger world, while preserving core theological pillars: human dignity, universal sin, and hope of redemption. If you love Bible mysteries, mythology, and ancient history, subscribe to Tales Mythology and hit the bell icon so you never miss new episodes. Share your thoughts in the comments. Were there humans before Adam? Let's uncover the stories hidden for thousands of years. Who were the people before Adam? Not literally before, in the sense of a date written in our calendars, but before our usual way of reading Genesis. The Bible, especially the book of Genesis, gives us a story so familiar that we sometimes miss its little cracks, tiny details under the surface that, once we notice them, shift the horizon of what we thought we understood. Imagine this. You open Genesis, see the story of Adam and Eve. Then you come to Cain, their son, who kills Abel, his brother, and God banished him east of Eden. Simple, right? For people on earth. Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel. Then Abel is dead. That leaves 3. But then Cain says something strange. Whoever finds me will kill me. Gen 4:14. Who is this whoever? If there are only 3 people on earth, Adam, Eve, Cain, who else could exist to kill Cain? The moment you ask this, you've stepped into the margins of the text. You begin to hear echoes of something unspoken, something the story assumes. Cain goes into the land of Nod. He knows his wife. He builds a city. He names it for his son, Enoch. Then a list of trades, craftsmetal work, music, pastoral life arises. Communities, roles, divides of labor, identity, public life, all of which suggest more than just for people in tents. What if Genesis doesn't simply assume we already know there are others out there? What if the narrative leans into that fact, not to negate Adam's importance, not to deny the theological storyline, but to expand our view? Maybe the story signals a human landscape beyond the tight circle. In this video, we will chase those breadcrumbs. We'll ask, is there space within the text itself for a larger human world that's been overlooked or downplayed? And what does that mean for how we understand sin, grace, identity, dignity? Grab a cup of tea, settle in. There's more here than a family tree. There is a human horizon. Let's begin with that moment, Cain's fear. After Abel is dead, God tells Cain he'll be a fugitive and wanderer. Cain replies, "Whoever finds me will kill me." Traditionally, this line has been treated as hyperbole, or perhaps as a moral expression, Cain's guilt speaking louder than population facts. But the wording assumes others. Whoever is a word pointing outward. It points to people, to others who are outside Cain's immediate circle. Imagine a child in a small, isolated family. It's just their parents and siblings. One day, that child is told they must leave the house, and they say, "Someone will get me." That would sound odd because who else is there? If there's truly no one, the phrase "someone" rings hollow. It only carries weight if there are others out there, even if we don't know their names. So Cain's fear is a textual opening. He isn't speaking about tripping over Adam and Eve every day. He's speaking of a social world, of neighbors, of potential threats. And then God gives him a mark for protection. Protection only makes sense if there are people who might perceive the mark, see it, and act upon it. Next, Nod, the wife, the city. Wife in Nod. Genesis 4:16-17 says Cain settled in Nod, then knew his wife. If there were only 4 people, where did she come from? Either she's a daughter of Adam and Eve, perhaps unnamed possible, or someone else in the background. City. Cain builds a city and names it for his son Enoch. Building a city is not the work of a lone man. Walls, community, planning, defense, inhabitants, it all presumes population. These details puzzle us only if we read Genesis as a Type 4-person world. But what if that isn't the only valid way to read it? What if the text, by failing to name every individual, isn't denying their existence, it's just choosing where to shine light? Think of early medieval village life. Many people lived unnamed in documents. Tax records list only heads of households. But when you walk through the land, you see whole communities: farmers, blacksmiths, midwives, musicians. Most lives are unrecorded, yet deeply present. Similarly, Genesis might be selective in its genealogies, but the community presence is still implied. Also, the Hebrew vocabulary matters. Words like "ear city," "erets land," "earth," "Adam man," "humankind" have flexible ranges of meaning. Sometimes Adam refers to a specific individual. Sometimes it refers to humanity. Sometimes erets means the local land. Sometimes it means all lands under heaven. These flexibilities allow the text to operate on several scales at once: the intimate Adam and his house, the communal city, and the global humankind. The tension between what is named and what is implied creates depth. Why does Genesis whisper rather than shout? Why name some, leave many unnamed? Why focus on one line, Adam gives Seth, gives Noah, when clearly others exist? This is where the structure, literary technique, and theological intention intersect. The family line of Adam gives Seth, gives etc. serves to trace God's promise. It's not designed to catalogue every human being. It is shaped, stylized, selective. Key moments are flagged: Enoch who walked with God, the naming of Noah as hope, etc. When Genesis 4 mentions that Adam had other sons and daughters, Gen 5-4, those unknown are acknowledged, but the narrative does not stop there. It continues along Seth's line until the flood, then shifts to nations, then to Abraham. The story is sketching a broader human world while centering the promise for theological reasons. The text alternates between zooming in the family of Adam, the line of Seth, and zooming out mentioning the earth, the nations after the flood. The genealogies don't give a census. They carve out a moral geography. They place us in relationship with God, with each other, with sin and grace. At this point, two coherent interpretive theories emerge: rapid household growth, the others in Cain's sphere, the wife, the city, all could be descendants of Adam and Eve not named. As the family multiplied, people spread, roles divided, communities formed. This view holds that the text stays strictly within the lineage of Adam, but allows unnamed people, expanding kin, pre-Adamite or concurrent humanity. There may have been human or human-like beings outside Adam's immediate line. These beings may not be part of the covenant line, but they are part of the human world. This view is more radical, but can find some textual breathing room. Which fits better? Let's compare. Feature: theory A, king growth. Theory B, wider horizon. Whoever finds me. Relative spread: outside immediate family, but still descended from Adam. Neighbors outside Adam's lineage. Wife in Nod, descendant of Adam, even named. Someone outside Adam's household or from a population already present. City and community. As community grows among Adam's descendants, as part of a broader human settlement already extant. Advantages, disadvantages. Theory A stays more conservative historically. Less conflict with doctrine, aligns with tradition. Theory B offers a more expansive reading, may provide better explanation for others without forcing genealogical strain, but risks being misread or misused. It helps to look beyond Genesis. How have other ancient texts, interpretive traditions, and cultures approached these puzzles? Ancient Near Eastern parallels, flood stories, human beginnings, antediluvian periods are common. Sumerian king list mentions kings before the flood. Epic of Gilgamesh preserves flood myths. These do not give doctrine, but show that the idea of human antiquity was a shared concern. Jewish interpretive tradition, Midrash, Jubilees, Life of Adam, and even non-canonical texts sometimes name Cain's wife, for example, are one in Jubilees, fill in details about early city building, etc. These works wrestle with the silences, without usurping canonical authority. Modern theological reflection. Many theologians have struggled with how to understand Genesis in light of science, anthropology, ethics, questions of image-bearing, human dignity, the fall, Adam's representative role all matter deeply. Any theory should preserve core beliefs: God's image for all humans, sin and grace, human unity. Adam as a theological head, Christ as second Adam. To make this vivid, let's bring into stories. Story 1. The isolated island village. In the early 1900s, on a remote Pacific island, missionaries arrive and find a community with many unnamed individuals in their oral histories. Names of leaders and elders are remembered, but many ordinary people exist only in song, oral memory, family line, their names often lost. Yet those people are deeply present in the fabric of village life: fishermen, weavers, storytellers, children. The records of the missionaries focus on chiefs and tribes. That doesn't mean others didn't exist. It just means the lens was selective. Similarly, Genesis focuses on certain linear premises: covenant, renewal. It doesn't list every shepherd, musician, metalwork. Those figures are implied when the text mentions crafts, cities, trades. Story 2. A family reunion and lost cousins. A person goes to a family reunion and realizes that although they know their grandparents, parents, some aunts and uncles, they don't know many cousins or extended relatives even. Though they exist, they are there, but unnamed in their stories. If someone says, "One of my cousins will recognize me," you understand there are cousins even, though names are missing in conversation. Cain's cry, "Whoever finds me," sounds similar. Not everyone is named. Not everyone is part of the covenant line, but the narrative suggests others already present. Now we pause. These ideas are more than intellectual curiosities. They touch on our theology, ethics, how we see humanity, inclusion, identity, the stakes, human dignity. If some human beings were outside the Adam line in theory, that must never mean they are less in dignity, less in image of God. The text repeatedly affirms that God made humans in His image before any tribe or name. Doctrine of sin and grace. Adam as representative head means all humanity falls. Christ as the new head means all may be redeemed. Any interpretation must preserve this. Unity versus division. History has misused ideas like polygenism, multiple origins, to justify racism or hierarchy. We must be very careful to keep doctrine and ethics aligned. No human outside the image, no group outside grace. Conspiracy theories of forbidden races are dangerous when turned into ideology rather than careful interpretation, twisting minor traditions into authoritative claims. Non-canonical sources can illuminate, but not override Scripture, overemphasizing speculative readings at the expense of what the text does say clearly: God's image, sin, grace, covenant. Let's test both theories in light of the evidence we have: linguistic, textual, theological. Evidence from language. The flex in words like Adam, erets, allows passages to refer both narrowly and broadly. This gives room for both theories. Evidence from text structure. The genealogical lists, the narrative focus, the silences are consistent with selective storytelling having theological purpose. Evidence from theology. Adam as representative, universal sin, universal need of grace. These are non-negotiable in both theories, but theory B pushes the envelope, may lead to confusion, unless carefully held. Which theory bends the page least? Probably theory our unnamed others are descendants. The horizon expands by kin, rather than positing contemporaneous separate humans outside Adam's line. It respects traditional readings more closely, while still honoring the oddities in the text. But theory B is not impossible if one is willing to grant higher degrees of interpretive leeway, while holding doctrinal anchors firm. What does this mean for us today? Seeing others as image bearers. The possibility that Genesis assumes others reminds us we live in a world brimming with people whose stories are unsung. Seeing the unnamed, the marginalized, the forgotten. Humility toward text and theology. Recognize that some gaps are intentional. We don't have to fill everything, but we must respect the narrative's movement. Union and responsibility. Every human, named or unnamed, is under Adam's fall and offered grace in Christ that shapes how we view justice, poverty, race, neighbor love, curiosity and faith. There is space to ask good questions of history, of translation, of community interpretations with fear. Curiosity doesn't threaten faith. It can deepen it. Let's recap. Genesis has small but significant clues. Cain's fear, wife, city, genealogies suggest a horizon of humanity beyond Adam's immediate family. There are at least two plausible ways to read these: expanding kin of Adam theory A, or a wider human presence theory B. Either way, what the text cannot allow is denying universal human dignity, or making doctrine depend on speculations. Theology anchors us: Adam's image, sin, grace, unity, Christ's headship. These remain safe anchors. Be attentive to what is implied as much as what is said. Biblical authors sometimes leave things in the margins. Don't force details to fill silences with invention, but do allow the implied to deepen our understanding. Hold theological anchors firmly even when exploring more imaginative or expansive readings. Let these reflections lead toward humility, compassion, and unity, not division or superiority. We started with a question: who were the humans before Adam, or perhaps better put, who were the unnamed neighbors beyond the garden story? We saw that the Bible itself leaves room through fear, through wife, through city, through selective lists for a wider human tapestry than often acknowledged. But the lesson is not obscure doctrine. It is deeply practical and spiritual. If we believe God made every human being in His image, even those whose names are lost, whose stories are never told in the headlines, then we live differently. We love differently. We treat neighbors seen, unseen as kin. We guard unity. We rejoice in grace. And maybe, in noticing those margins, in reading the shadows and not just the spotlight, we come closer to the full richness of the story of fall and promise, of human story in all its breadth, of a God who made people, named some, left others unnamed, and loves them all. Thank you for walking out to the land of Nod with me. Thank you for letting the margins speak. If this stirred you, keep reading, keep asking, keep attending to what the text whispers between the lines.